short form and smaller bites are generally more successful. It just comes down to the repetition, the frequency, and such.
Welcome to the Mastering E-commerce Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Eitan Koter, co-CEO of Vimy. In an era of rising acquisition costs and increased competition, this podcast is dedicated to helping you drive sales, engage customers, and build meaningful communities so you can turn passive visitors into active buyers. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on future content. Now let's get started with the episode. Dave Behar is a powerhouse brand builder, early tech investors, and the mind behind the Chief Executive Athlete philosophy. He helped launch Hotmail, led high-impact brand activations across sports, media, and CPG, and built multi-platform strategies for icon brands like Adidas, Powerbar, and the Pac-12. Now at the helm of Behar Brands, he drives disruptive growth for purpose-driven companies and emerging leaders. Hey Dave, how are you? Welcome.
Awesome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I know it was a very short intro of all the things that you are doing, and I probably missed a lot, but I hope to cover them on this episode. But before we get started,
It's a little taller. Calls a little taller. If you're not so sure of the intro.
Okay, great. But before we get started, if you can choose like 3 words that better describe you or your beliefs and why.
Right. Well, I love some of our brand DNA with Ion, which is the network of champions, is collaboration, Ion intelligence, and from a business standpoint is conversion. And when you're talking about making things happen, why we do what we do, it's about conversion stuff. It takes collaboration along the way and throw in vision as well.
Yeah, I know you're very good at words and probably use a lot differently in the Ion network. So thank you so much for sharing those two, which I think is a cornerstone for everything that you do, right? And let's start from the definition of Chief Executive Athletes, which is more than a title, right?
It really is. Part of it, not to bring in yet another word, but words are what makes, well, the world go around. Is that the word go around? World go around. Anyway, it's about a playbook, differentiation. So how we go about what we do and what we bring. Because if you're talking about business, it's about being competitive and really here to win, and not to necessarily beat you and beat you down, but to win. So in the relationship of who we're doing business with, we're always, again, looking to win and win-win. So that's part of the playbook, at least the outcome and what we are defining to be our goals and objectives in that relationship, whether it's automated or simply that human relationship. And that's super important. More than ever in a more and more AI driven world.
Yeah. Why you choose the word athletes from all the work patterns?
Well, I mean, as an athlete, I've been an athlete all my life, multiple sports and pretty competitive, of course. And so it just continues on, and it's a mindset. And some of it I address in a couple of the books I co-authored, but we're here to have fun, here to play, but also here to win. So that's kind of what you do on the field and in the arena and in the office. So.
And in terms of playbook for your, like brand activations, obviously you've been doing this for quite a while. Can you share more details about like the major milestones in your process? And obviously things has changed and things have stayed the same for over the years. I'd like to have your perspective about, 2025, like the future of marketing, and how do you see this evolution?
Yeah, well, again, digitally as an example, the playing field just continues to be level. It's just how you're utilizing the tools that are available to us or those that you're creating. And when I say those that you're creating, it's really what platforms are helping you achieve success. And the marketing side of the game, which is just part of it, as you know, it's like, what is it that you're marketing? What is it you're trying to achieve? It's just all about, what business you're in and what your outcomes that you're intending to achieve. So, marketing wise, it's key. So
Yeah, so you're just using the same marketing strategies all over again, try to experiment which channel works for that specific project or
Yeah, well, I think part of it really is, take yourself through the process of having options that you're. Let's say you want to subscribe to something, and you might have three different options that have those different objectives and those things in the toolbox that you're choosing to in order to succeed. And again, one is something that you're opting into, and the other is that you're creating. But it is about those options and the strategy behind it. Where you're headed. What's the destination? And I know it sounds metaphorical in some ways, but it's all about what you're pulling into your playbook. And again, what the plan says, what the outcome is that you're after. So yeah, and those tools, as you know, are increasing in capability, as well as some that are really disruptive to help us succeed at an even higher level. It's then how you use them.
yes. And how do you, choose with which brands or which companies to work with? What's your criterias for evaluation to think, if a brand or a tech company that you're working with is aiming for success?
Yeah. So really, our network, we create a number of different platforms as well as utilize others to get there. But it's what is it that you again are trying to achieve with brand XYZ, and for that matter, what market they're in. It may be where there's a consumer strategy that is requiring much more of a database push at a consumer level, and at the same time is something that might be more industry specific driven as a platform. So just platform wise, it's those choices.
Yeah. Maybe you can explain. I know you're involved in production, but also in distribution. You have the Ion world, right? Please give us an overview of those different initiatives and activities.
Yeah. I think, well, so Ion, thousands of local, hyper-local channels, North America and then globally. And it's just basically the delivery method. One is that in the Ion network, you can upload your show, upload your video, essentially upload your digital asset that you would like to have obviously seen, and you're able to choose your distribution, and choosing it could be any town. And for that matter, categorically, anything from sports to health, nutrition, Ion Kit. So there's Ion Health, Ion Nutrition, Ion Kids, Ion Family, and Ion Sports. We do spend a great deal of time with, and that is then having that show. And then some are simply networks. Everyone's a network today, right? So you then get to enhance their distribution and take it from a standpoint of even more detailed distribution. We have our own distribution that's increasingly successful in terms of the reach and the number of folks in the database. And the database is the marketplace, right? So and then of course the social platforms, and of course you're able to segment there too. So our role is to be that reliable network under Ion. So it's to rely on Ion factor besides kind of that winning attitude and mindset, which is why we're the network of champions.
So these are like it's a TV channels that goes to distribution, but also online and
there's the OTT distribution, which includes obviously great platforms like Apple and Android and Roku and weathers, but also digital in terms of web and mobile. So that's where an Ion and Ion Domain play a role. Those all being focused platforms. It could be that you're a local business that needs just very hyper local distribution that is in the 4 or 5 or 6 towns surrounding where your, let's call it brick and mortar is. You could just start there. It depends on, where you want to scale. It's not the same as simply throwing, some coin in the meter. That's like a search engine like Google. Of course, we all know the reaches of today's great platforms, but this becomes a lot more intentional and purpose-driven because we surround that content, that show, that video, whatever it may be, with with marketing. And for that matter, we're very interested in helping you succeed in many ways. Not only is a loyalty factor customer wise, it's certainly helping you reach the end game, which is that customer acquisition, or for that matter, conversion in a transaction. So
How the conversion is happening on those channels?
are you asking me the conversion on the channels?
Yeah, I mean, usually the videos brand companies are posting for more brand exposure, awareness, or it's also conversion.
Yeah, really, that is what the intention is, the intended result. Some is the branding exercise, and let's just say simply eyeballs. On the other hand, is that call to action, which is where you can get more conversion. And let's remind ourselves, it's not just sitting on a platform as it is. What might be some level of call to action in terms of an advertisement, if you will. Something might come through email or social, and for that matter, through a text or type campaign, SMS. So there you have it, and those things are all available with what we do, but we really focus on that experience. So at least that content with the content creator, that brand is in a good place with us. In terms of, again, geographic or categorically. Rely on that.
You see a certain type of media property that is more, let's say, monetizable than the other?
Well, when you say media property, what do you...
Like, I mean, the video asset or the video itself, right? I mean, it's any type of digital media. Do you see something that is working like a style or form?
Yeah, so I mean, as you know, short form and smaller bites are generally more successful. It just comes down to the repetition, the frequency, and such. But I think today, any business, let alone, everyone's got a camera, smartphone, or whatever else, besides the, again, professional content creator and, show creator. So it's essential. And, but I do love even the traditional offers that happen. And, I feel almost ancient 20th century, like just calling them banners, but, digital ads that, because that's some of the beauty of great slogans and taglines that are an easy to catch quickly, even if it's an animated GIF or something, that then of course is clickable and, is then part of that type of campaign versus just a video, or for that matter, show. If it's a show, no matter how long that show is, it's, you're in there watching, and I think that's great. But the other intention of our business is being active, literally out living and breathing and playing sports and stuff like that.
Yes.
So we're not in front of our screens all the time, let alone our, smartphones. So.
Yes, I mean, short form is such a powerful format for conversion, right? So you then turn attention into transactions, and obviously social commerce is a key driver for so many reasons. Like
that for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, that's probably the right way to go for everyone. It should be part of the overall marketing strategy. Obviously, using original content, which is more authentic, more consistent. But also you're working with influencers, right? Which is a very, very powerful way to increase exposure and generate good amount of traction, it says.
Yeah, I think, really, like in our case, it isn't just, let's say, about our production and original programming. It is about, showcasing, the great content creators out there. And it's not just a few, it's many. And things get easier to produce. And for that matter, more creativity to happen because it just happens over the course of time, more things to pull from. You are talking about whether that content grid, it has a show title, or they might be just, let's call it influencer, which we call them influencers. And that's, more on that later, perhaps. But, really, it's about the brand DNA, the brand personality, that is then, memorable. It's, kind of, is able to capture the spirit of who we are and what we do and what we want, how our brand speaks. And hopefully that creates the loyalty and then the conversion to keep the business type activity coming, or certainly the eyeballs or earballs, you know, tuned in. So
Sure, but sometimes it's so difficult to find your true differentiator, and how do you convert some kind of a showing some kind of a transformation with your products, pain to pleasure. I mean, these type of processes are so important these days because it's so. I mean, it's, as you said at the beginning of the episode, it's kind of a plain field, and it's really everyone has the tools, everyone is using AI today, and how will you differentiate, right? I think still going back to the root, right? Cause like the real story, behind the founder, behind the why you started this company, and
big time. Yeah, I mean, well said. I mean, there's no question. And that becomes its own, let's call it challenge, if you will, even though it's just automatic and easy for you, because it does kind of not say force that business owners, it'll be a solopreneur or, big company, that they're definitely now in the production business, producing the stories and those things that are important to them, that make them. And hopefully they have somebody on board that helps carry that through, besides what might be a founder and that mentality. But yeah, hopefully it's I guess increasingly, kind of automatic, but at the same time, the need to focus on, if it's a company that has products, whether they be digital or, a consumer packaged good type of scenario that's on a shelf, whether it be available, through e-commerce routinely or not. It's it's increasingly important, as you know, and well, that's what we're here for,
yeah. I mean, it's great to have all these transformations. I mean, it's never boring, right? In this industry.
Well, keeps your mind buzzing, and but also, sometimes from a personal standpoint, it's like, yeah, when do you turn it off? Yeah,
that is a great sentence. The mind is awakened in the new, right? So
yeah,
you're just trying to find all these new learnings and the new things you want to test and experiment, which is definitely an important part of marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're having your customers and your internal folks, whoever along for the ride, and you're testing together and you're having fun, I mean, and part of the even versioning what is video or show content, I think that's great. And always authentic and believable and is you, and I get a kick out of it because, incubation, incubation even, is, it's important, because I think we should all be continuing to incubate things. And, part of it is like, depends if you're hardcore, hey, like hit this conversion rate or something like that, this percentage, or it gets tossed or something like that. I'm talking about campaign wise, but I just think that it's all part of the brand makeup, and, have fun as long as you're having fun. I mean, again, going back to the win, you want to win, you want to succeed, but as long as you're having fun, because, I guess life's too short to not. And I hope you notch those wins and, successful along the way.
Again, having fun is part of that mindset thing that you mentioned previously, right? Because we see like data around burnout and stress in the workspace is just going up and up, right? Every year. So
yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think that I know that is felt in more ways than one, but in the virtual space, like if you're, talking about like an internal team that's virtual, hopefully you can breathe along the way, while again increasing that workflow and how you're getting there, just by having a mindset that the end game is really important. But again, having fun along the way. It's not as if you were slacking along the way. Performance, as you know, it's business, So
yes. Okay, Dave, we must talk about the Hotmail experience, right? You were one of the founding members and worked to launch this amazing product and obviously exit. I mean, what you've learned from this experience?
yeah, well, that was last century, and it's interesting, Hotmail. Well, let's say email very prevalent in our world, in our lives. It's the key form of communication. It remains. But that experience, you're talking about bona fide Silicon Valley, incredible group of people came together and, established, and for that matter, created some of the business models that didn't even exist at the time related to monetizing you want to call it digital content. In this case, was your emails in the rotating banner ad. Of course, I spent a lot of time in not just the biz dev of even things like the deck to attract what was a successful capital run, but also the business models by which folks can utilize, marketers can utilize it as a platform to market by, and then the subscriber aspect of many of these individuals, and for them, our workplaces, there wasn't as much the emphasis on web-based email at the time, but then it became the access and being really the first to access. There was a few decent sized businesses at that time that offered email that I'm not going to suggest have gone by the wayside, but through the acquisition aspect, of course, Hotmail sold to Microsoft at a very historic price at the time.
Yes.
That actually in many ways enabled Google, and its Gmail to rise. And today that's, that call it 800-pound gorilla. I don't think you put a weight on it, but the use of it, because then essentially people had more and more choice besides like corporate email, right? The brand email, whether it was truly web-based or not. But that experience was, it was without a question rewarding, and the ability to shape things with where technology was headed, and not just in an email standpoint, but as it being, part of the toolbox that today's web is based on, and messaging and stuff. Pretty crazy stuff, and very exciting. And, and then we've all gone to other ventures from there. And before that, there was other ventures. So, well, yeah, I love, because when you were asking about words and stuff, I love, the word exit, and I love excitation. So, it's quite a world we live in and play in. And, Hotmail was lots of,
Yes.
I mean, definitely focused and definitely had to grind through development of teams and methodologies, processes that didn't exist. But the team was great, and it was good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things need to operate in sync in a very good way. I mean, if you're great in marketing and your operation sucks or R&D, it will not work. I mean, you need to have all the building blocks in the right place, working together in very good performance. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you had to have people on the same page with where we're headed, or at least arm wrestling through it. So we came up with the best product we could. And, still to this day, people are using Hotmail, but at the same time, the brand, where it's gone through the Microsoft family, those are decisions. And as a brand builder and a brand developer, I really wish that the brand remained in a more significant way, for sure. Versus, again, and it happens in companies, you rebrand and an existing brand that's existing in a company's portfolio. And I think part of it is in that heart and soul. There's a lot of fanatical users in your brand if you have the right brand. So,
others are not fanatical. Yeah, it's like the community, which is very passionate one, right?
Listen, part of the way that it was able to develop the subscriber base was through sports. And, one of my big affinities and success paths of having the ability to have a Hotmail account through leagues and collegiate conferences, and those databases to adopt that as their primary source. And that was, again, lots of fun. And it's part of the activation of that brand. So it's a matter of, how you choose to take things and, where you want to go. So it's fun, mapping that out and engaging and having, the team go through that process to be supported.
Yes. Yes. Babe, I'd love to hear some of your tips for founders out there, try to build their companies.
Well, first of all, it depends on what kind of company, right? What's the business model? What's that line of distribution? If it's a digital product, again, a platform scenario that you want folks to adopt as part of their daily digital life, or is it something that's sitting on a shelf, or again, e-commerce product that's a product, and then it is about it all starts with the brand. I mean, some will say, don't worry about the brand, just worry about the product and the conversion and stuff, but you got to have some sustainability built into the brand name you choose and the methodology. And again, it's nothing you don't already know. I mean, because you've been around the block, of course. From a startup founder standpoint, you have a lot of shortcuts, if you will, of readily available methods, and is part of your methodology to have your brand as to succeed, whether it be the team aspect or the distribution aspect. And you want to be able to, of course, do that research. You plan that work as much as you can and work the plan. You definitely don't necessarily want to go too long before you get to that first, first product, if you will, unless you're going to disappoint a lot of people that aren't going to come back or not going to take that ride with you. And that's basically how, versioning is important. And I would, one key bit of advice is just think of it in terms of versioning. Those that have been around in maybe multiple cycles of technology products, it is about versioning and adding features and stuff. But what's that first version need? And also, I will say, get prepared to pivot, because if you're going through a business plan standpoint, it has, let's say, some timelines involved in the implementation. And this obviously does include also a physical product, because guess what? Maybe that packaging didn't resonate, the color or the font for some reason or another, to then say, I got to, again, pivot because of the feedback I've gotten and the fact that you may or may not achieve a success. I would build that in at the beginning as the different options you have. Even if you have several options, let's say it's a technology product, that you do build in those options rather than just say it's this one-shot deal. This is the way the product is, and just think in terms, it doesn't have to be a subscription, but if there's choices and options, which I love the word options, we use it quite a bit with Ion, but it's about giving that business or consumer the choice to have, and if you're coming out the gates with that, it's key. You're more likely to convert if given a choice. Having then your audience deal, let's say, hey, I like these features over here, and maybe not those in, and then you make a choice versus it being one-shot deal.
Interesting. So this is a little bit different than the lean startup methodology, right? It recommends to be like laser focused on your customer profile and on your, functionalities of your product, and just try to win with this and being very agile in adapting. But you're saying, hey, provide few options, make sure that they have a broader array of functionalities that may fit a broader audience, and try to get some feedback and develop and evolve with these different.
I mean, did you know the lean space, this isn't compared to it as it is, you are keeping things narrow and focused, but you don't want to go too narrow or too targeted, as an example, because you might be surprised who's interested in your product may not be specific there. So in some regards, it's like, hey, how are you testing through even like your audiences, whether it be demographically, might be even age, or markets. But again, that should be built in a little bit at the beginning for sure, and keeping it then the lean model in order to have more chance for success without spraying out too far, because then you be chasing tail a little bit more than you want to be. Nice. You don't want to be wasting time, of course, but yeah.
All right, Dave. So how people can find you if you want to work with you, partner up with you, get your coaching?
come on down the street and come see me. Come over.
That's a differentiator, right?
It's scary. You know what? It's one of those things that I throw on my email. Dave. It's 2 4-letter words. Dave@ions.com. IONS. They go find me in the social spaces and all that. I mean, our company's all over the place. I'm gonna say I'm all over the place with where things are distributed, but to focus, like, hey, here's my email. I will respond. Depends what you're up to. What I'll answer any questions, whatever. But at the same time, maybe collaboration is ahead with anybody that's listening or watching. But we're here, man, and happy to help. And as long as it's fun and trying to achieve a goal. So yes, you will be a joke. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. Super interesting. Thank you so much for the time. Really, really appreciate it.
All right. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the end of this episode. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our future content. And if you could share this with just one person, it would make all the difference. Are you looking to accelerate your sales with the power of shoppable video? Explore Vimeo, the video commerce platform that includes live shopping, shoppable video, and social commerce capabilities. Visit Vimeo at www.vimeo.net, that's VIMMI.net, where you can start with a free for life package. We appreciate your support and look forward for bringing you more valuable insight in our next episode.